um, there's such precious little information about demons that if I asked you a simple question, very basic question, okay? In the entire Old Testament, how many demons were cast out? Your answer would have to be 0. No, there's not a single demon that was ever cast out in the Old Testament, because the only reference to an evil spirit that comes close to being cast out is when David played the harp, and the spirit would lift. You remember? But it would come back. But you see, you land into trouble because the spirit was from God. You see, it becomes very hard, right? Then suddenly you come into the New Testament and they're everywhere, right? And Jesus is casting out one here and is casting out another there. But I just have one question for you to consider. We all know that the devil and his angels are cast into the lake of fire, correct? Where are the demons? Yeah, you see, you land into trouble because, remember, the angels are first cast out of heaven in Revelation, right? And according to your Ephesians scripture, which you like quoting, the spiritual forces in heavenly places. So we all know that the devil is where? In heaven. You No. So guys, no. See, you quote the scripture. We fight against not flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces. All right, in where? In heavenly places. See, it's there. So where are they? Okay, think about it this way. Let me frame it another way. If you go to Revelation, right, and war breaks out where? In heaven, right? And the angel Michael fights against Satan and his angels, and they're cast out of heaven into earth because there was no room for them anymore. Where? So where are they? Okay. You understand? There is no demon or angel in hell poking people. You understand? There is already a fire. So poking you will cause, even ushaiona mtu ushaisikia mtu anaungua, anachomeka alafu anasema ouch, nimedungwa na miba. You understand? It's again, what is in hell? Is it a body or a spirit? So why are you poking a spirit with anyway? It's a physical instrument. Physics does not work in the spiritual realm, does it? So why you anyway? I'll not go there. So we know that the devil and his angels are where? They're in heaven. And you know this because he accuses you before your Father in heaven all the time. You understand? So unless God is in hell with the devil, it only stands to reason that the devil has access to God, correct? Now, we also know that demons are on earth. How do we know they're on earth? Because they told Jesus, have you come to punish us before it is time, correct? And then Jesus says, when a demon leaves, it goes into the wilderness. Notice it does not go to hell. So praying and telling a demon to kwenda kuzimuni, where is that word? Kuzimuni. Yes, kuzimu. Yes, no, umeokoka, sister. enda kuzimu, it's nonsensical, right? Because it goes into the wilderness. And then when it gets there, it gathers 7 stronger than itself and comes back, right? So my question is, why aren't demons dealt with at the end of the age? Because if you're going to deal with the devil and his angels, okay, and indeed you're also going to judge the angels, you are told that you will judge angels, correct? So what happens to demons? Okay, let me ask another question. Let me ask it this way. The term demon means liar and blasphemer, correct? Right? That's what, because it's diabolos in Greek, right? So what is it then that a demon does? It lies and blasphemes, correct? Okay. All I'm pointing out is a lot of the demonology you know is not scriptural. It's literally the doctrine of demons, that they've lied to the church for so long about who they are. Okay, let me debunk one more lie, then we can start class. And the sons of God looked at the daughters of men, okay, and they took them to wife, correct? Right? And they bore children who were giants of old, okay, men of great repute. Sindio? Then you decided that angels left heaven, okay, took on human form, right, and had sex with human beings, correct? Okay. I just have one question before we go far. Why haven't they done it again? But they had children. No, think about it. Think about it. Logically, according to the argument, is they sat and saw and thought chicks are hot. Right? Now, unless after the flood hotness reduced. No, I'm just asking. Now, Ken Mugano, you'll be stoned peke yako. Right? So now, let's think about it. If you were an angel, okay, and God got so pissed at you and he kicked you out, correct? Right? Now you've already been kicked out. So why would you stop hooking up with chicks? Right? So you're already a rebel. Right? Then, number 2, how is a flood of water going to deal with spiritual beings? They don't need air to breathe like us, so they can't drown. Okay? So why is God's brilliant idea of dealing with a spiritual infestation drowning them? Because what would an angel do? Drown in water? Die? Think about it. Okay. Jesus comes and says, in that age, okay, in the new age, you'll be like the angels, not being given to marriage, or, right? Okay. Now, for an angel to have sex, it means an angel has the ability to reproduce, correct? That means there should be male and female angels. Because how mean would God be to create an angel with the ability to have sex and no one to have sex with? Just logical questions. And then why didn't then female angels decide that men are also hot? Because men are not. Any, let me tell you guys, any masterclass. You notice all that does not make sense. If you just think about it a little bit, it does not make sense. Because, and now let's go a bit further. Noah lived a maximum of 6,000 years ago. Maximum of 6,000 years ago, right? Now, if the earth was filled with giants, how many giant bones have we found? Giant human beings. None. Now, let's look at it practically now. Practically, in Hebrews 1:13, the Bible is careful to say, which angel did God call son? Okay? Right? It is only men whom he's decided to make sons. In every other place in the Bible, when someone is called a son of God, it refers to a human being or an angel. A human being. Okay? Now, we also know that a son of man, like you, is a human being. Now, we know throughout the Bible, the sons of God were told always not to marry from the tribes which he was sending them, correct? Because God wanted a holy seed. A holy seed does not mean a righteous seed. It means a seed that is separate from the world, correct? Cindy? Okay. Now I want to give you perspective because we'll discuss it just now. The sons of God, Seth's line, lived how many years? 900, right? On average, right? Okay. Doesn't that strike you as odd? Because for you to live 900 years, you literally need to have a different kind of DNA. Correct? Because the DNA we have now, even if you didn't get a disease, by 120 you are dead. Without any disease. Correct? So how did these guys live 900 years? Okay? So that tells you that, okay, let me give you another example, a better example. There's a guy called Seth. The Bible records that he walked with God until he was Enoch, yes, sorry. So Enoch walks with God until God takes him. Correct? What does that mean? Well, the problem is, unafikiria ngo alikuwa anatembea. Oh, there is something unique in the Bible. I'll show you. Pre-flood Bible and post-flood Bible. Pre-flood Bible is full of people who had direct relationships with God, including Cain. When God talks to Cain, it is not something that shocks him. He's not like someone who talked to me. You understand? It was common. Right? When Noah speaks to God, again, no one says, you had who now? Right? All of that lineage had direct relationship with God. Now, if you look at your Bible, including Moses, anyone who has that direct interaction with God begins to be weird. Moses, for example, can stay in a mountain for 40 days and not eat and sleep, and he's fine. He comes out glowing. Correct? Right? His face was shining. Right? And that was due to what? His proximity to God. Okay? Meaning that if you spend time with God, his glory transfers to you. Correct? and it affects your physical nature. Sindio? So the sons of God then, interacting with the sons of men then, what would happen? Tafakari. So, all I'm raising is questions. Because, just things to think about. Right? Instead of bothering to think the devil can have children. It's a total waste of time. Can do better things with your time. Let me ask you a question. Why would he need to have children? When he already has children. Do you know the devil already has children on earth as we speak? Jesus called them, you are of your father. Who are they? Pharisees. So why go having one child after every 9 months when you've got churches full of your children? No, it's the truth. What did Jesus call Pharisees? And the children of? Now, which is a better way to procure? You do one crusade and you get 1,000 children, or you go impregnating women and wasting. No, think about it. It's illogical. It's completely illogical. And then, let me ask you a question. This is the last question I'm asking. Please tell me, which devil is this that has money to make you rich? I don't understand how you assume if you join Sujui Freemasonry, Sujui Illuminati, you'll be rich, and then you know God and you'll be poor. How does that make sense in your head? Think about it. What does the devil own? So how is it possible that you honestly believe that a witch doctor made someone rich? You must begin to question. You must begin to question. Because let me ask a question. Okay? Jesus, every demon he saw, he cast out, right? And there were times when he fed 4,000 people, correct? And he was always surrounded by multitudes. But out of a multitude, he cast demons out of 2 or 3, right? Even Akina Peter in their ministry did not cast out many demons. Okay? But now you have a church where half the congregation has demons. All over Africa. You see, these things don't add up. They don't. But all of these things are an effort to glorify the devil in your mind. It's the best form of devil worship. That you've decided he has more demons than you can count. He's got more power than you can imagine. You understand? And even you imagine that somehow, the Holy Spirit and a demon can live together nicely. So you are born again, tongue talking, you go to a deliverance service, you're rolling on the floor. Because the Holy Spirit has been doing what? Can we stay? He literally asks, what fellowship does light have with? When we switch on these lights, how much darkness is left here? Let me ask you, I keep asking people a simple question. You carry light, Sindio? All right? So how is a demon comfortable in your presence? How? It doesn't make sense. This is why Peter's shadow cast out demons. Because he was light. So I don't understand how instead of teaching, I spent 30 minutes casting out demons for what? I did that business when I was young and foolish. Toka, sitoki, toka, sitoki. For how long? So who has authority? Listen, if a demon has to negotiate with you to leave, who has authority? The demon. Because it can tell you no. But as who? You see, when you discover the truth, you stop struggling with demons. I'm not saying there are no demons. I'm just saying they're inconsequential. Totally inconsequential. You understand? Okay. You in your physics, the physics you learned in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, can you give me the formula for darkness? At what speed does darkness travel? What are the physical properties of darkness? What is the wavelength of darkness? Which one of you bothers to understand darkness? It is simply lack of light. So what do you need to understand more, light or darkness? Most Christians can tell you how there's the queen of the sea, succubus, incubus, principality of a Nairobi, hierarchy of demons. You know, there's one in Kayole that makes people of Kayole act this way. You can explain all of those things. And you can't explain to me who the cherubim are, or who the seraphim are, or who the heavenly Sanhedrin are, or why God has a throne and he doesn't have a bum. Because if he occupies everything in all ways, where does he sit? Misielewangi wa Kristo. Yani, the mysteries which God has put in the Bible for you to figure out, you don't know. Then you know there's a queen of the sea who took your underwear, took it to Mombasa. Anyway, can I do my teaching? I have not taught demonology. I've just caused you to ask questions. Are we okay? I just want you to ask questions. Just basic. In fact, can I just be naughty and ask my last question? Okay. You are the devil, right? You are the devil. You are talking to Adam and Eve. Okay? And your main prerogative is to make sure Jesus is not born. Right? Instead of turning into a serpent, why don't you turn into a man more handsome than Adam, then have sex with Eve, so that the seed of man never comes up? So why do you figure this thing out 1,000 years later? Does that make sense to you? Come on. And then now, he will wait all that time to have sex with one woman who's not very special, so that the Antichrist can be born. That is your logic. And then why is he waiting? Bona huyo Antichrist asitokee leo. If that's... I'm tired. Anyway, let's get to our teaching. Okay? There's a scripture that's very disturbing in the Bible that says friendship with the world is enmity with God. Okay? You know that scripture? Oliver, utanifuata kama kawaida, eh? Friendship with the world. Now, I want to ask you a question. Ever since you were born, what do you know other than the world? Because for you to stop being friends with the world, you must know the alternative to the world. Okay, come, sir. Now that you're back, I'll use you as an example. Okay? Your mom tells you, don't be his. Your next question is, not why, who else? Now, in your entire existence, if I tell you friendship with the world is enmity with God, right? What do you know other than the world? Let me make it worse. Listen, James 4:4. You're like unfaithful, having illicit love affairs with the world and breaking your marriage vow too. Do you not know that being the world's friend is being God's? So whoever chooses to be a friend of the world takes his stand as an enemy of. Let's go back. Let's read verse 1, 2, and 3. Okay? What leads to strife? Discord and how do conflicts, quarrels, and fightings originate among you? Among who? So these are believers. Are we together? Do they not arise from sensual desires that are ever warring in your body? Please understand the desires here. You know, the problem is with Christians, when they hear sensual desires, you think below your waist. That's what Christians think sensual desires are. I'll define to you sensual desires shortly. Because he's talking about factions, divisions, right? Where do factions and divisions come from? At your workplace. Promotions, sindio? Parking space, sindio? Those are called sensual desires. Why? You are jealous? Does that sound like sex to you? And covet what others? And your desires go unfulfilled, so you become mosmos. Remember, last week we stopped at the story of Cain. Can I show you the Cainness in you? Okay. Have you ever been a good boy or girl in school, and you chose one semester you're not going to play around, you're going to be serious, correct? And you're not going to miss a single CU meeting. You're not going to reply the letters of your boyfriends or your girlfriends. And you fasted and prayed. Have you ever done something like that, whether in school or whatever in life? Anyone who's done that? Just show of hands if you've done that. That's 50%, right? Now, you notice something strange happened. Most of the time, if you are aiming for a B in physics, that's the time you got a D. Generally. If you're Mugzo, can I tell you how Mugzo backslid? Let me tell you how Mugane backslid. It's the best story, and the reason why you should have a problem with the world. Ken Mugane used to play basketball in high school, and he was sure that year he's going to win the national championship, right? Because he was in the right school, had the right coach, everything. Now, to ensure his victory, he put up a regime of fasting, a regime of prayer, and practice. And he put everything in it, and he signed God's contract on his behalf. Based on the amount of fasting and prayer he had given. You know, like Betty's prayer chain. You know, that let's make 1,000 prayers to God. Which is nonsense, by the way, because what is a prayer chain? You think God is sitting in heaven? People are dying. How many prayers, Jesus? 200. No, I'm not doing anything. Imefika ngapi? 3. Bado. Sana ngoja ifike tu 1,000. God akam. No, Christians are funny. That's how you've decided to pray. So anyway, Ken was on his own personal prayer chain. Okay? So, sure enough, zonals, districts, provincials, nationals, quarterfinals, semi-finals, final game. They've made it so far, he's sure he can taste the victory. But there's an anointed ref who decides to give all the points to the other side unfairly. Right? It's an unfair game, and he does not win the championship. So he decides, "Do says God, I have bounced." That story is your story many times. It just requires the right amount of pain. Because anytime you're in pain, the question you most ask is, what have I done? Sindio? Nilifanyia Mungu? Yeah. That's why you are a murderer. I'll explain to you how. Because most of the time, a guy will come along who does not read as hard as you, pray as hard as you, fast as hard as you, and then he'll beat you. It happens in everyone's life. You are at Jobo, the person who comes to work late, lies to the boss all the time, promoted. Yeah? Yes, the most. Yes, the chick who had the most boyfriends and cheated on all of them got married to the richest guy 2 days after campus, and you 2 decades after campus. And so in your heart, you develop a resentment. And you always think God is unfair. And you think life is unfair. And you're jealous. Sound familiar? Have I brought it home for you? And then you have desires. Dreams. Now, please note, they are your desires, not God's desires. Now, you have your desires, and they go unfulfilled. That's another thing that bites Christians. By now, you should own a car. By now, you should be married. By now. So you become murderers. What is a murderer? Anyone who hates his brother. Now, can I define hate for you in the Bible? Think less of. If I think less of you, I hate you. You see, the correct position of a Christian is he considers others higher than. So when you flip that, you see, the only way to murder someone is if you think less of someone. You know that? Yes, you think they're less worthy than you to live. Okay. You will get me another day. To hate is to murder as far as your heart is concerned. You burn with envy and anger and are not able to obtain the gratification, the contentment and happiness that you. So you fight and war. Now, let me pause. Let me tell you something. One of the things that has broken churches over many, many years is what? Factions. Why? Because you feel it is your turn. Right? Because that's always the case. That it's now my turn to be head usher. That's all church is about. You know, We were talking with Mugzo in the morning. Do you know how churches keep you there? They give you positions. You just show up 2 days. If you have money or talent, youth pastor, chairman, Bible study leader, coordinator. Let me tell you, churches have titles from here to Kathmandu. You see, and literally they have meetings to say, they do meetings to say and to tell you, heads has come. How do we accommodate? If there were 11 chairs in the eldership, wanakuja na kuambia tumeamua ni 12. Right? So what happens? You're always fighting this war for position. It's the same thing at work, right? You're always fighting for. Now it says you do not have because you do not. Now you see that's a strange thing to be told. Because what has this person been desiring? And yet he's saved. You think this person has not been praying? See, remember, this is a born-again person. So does it mean he does not ask? Exactly. But I do not want to dwell on do not ask. Or you do ask and yet to fail to receive because you ask with the wrong purpose and evil and selfish. Your intention when you get what you desire is to spend it on sensual. Mostly to show off. Mostly to tell people when you go to your high school reunion, I'm now the CEO of a major company in. Correct? Now, you are like unfaithful wives. So who is he talking about? Now, let's consider our lives. In our lives, okay? What in your life has not been driven by jealousy, envy, and sensual desires? Let's consider it carefully. The car you want, the house you want, the husband you want, why do you want them? Listen. Should I? Anything that is not done in faith is anything, right? This is Romans 9. So you know this. Okay. Meaning, anything that is done without hearing and hearing by the word of God is, can we, same page? Anything you desire that you did not hear from God came from what? Your senses. And therefore it is sensual. That is what is called the world. Okay, let me pull back. The world exists to gratify the needs of the flesh. Because we know the pride of life, the lust of the eye. We know this, right? Now, in your world, in your list of priorities, which of those priorities were given to you by God and which ones are yours? You will notice most often than not, you are the one who gives a list to God. Meaning, you are married to God, but all you dream about is the world. Can I give a bad example? Feeling kind of naughty. So bad I can't say it. I am so tempted to say it. Listen. It's like, oh my goodness. It is like being in bed with someone, but thinking about. That's what that scripture means. That you are married to God and you're supposed to be having intercourse with Him, but in your mind, someone else. That's what He means. You see, when Jesus comes and says, you see, this is a strange scripture. We cast out demons in your name. We healed the sick in your name. And then He says, I did not know you. Why does He say, I did not know you? Listen, let me explain. When you give someone your name, they're either your child or your spouse, correct? And they can go to the shop in your name. Okay? Now here's the thing. When Adam knew his wife, she had a baby. So what Jesus is saying is, you had a baby, but I didn't mess with you. In other words, that your intimate life is you're more intimate with the world than you are intimate with Jesus. Can I give you an example? If today you are called and you are told, we've credited your account with 2 million shillings. Okay? Now, she's just given the right thing. The one that turns her on is Mammon. The name she shouts is Jehovah. Did you hear what I just said? You are really, listen, you are really in love with money. But you're too decent to go to a witch doctor. You're too decent to sleep with the boss. But you've heard of a guy. His name is Jesus. If you give him a bit of tithe and a bit of prayer, he'll give you the lover you wanted anyway. He's not the lover of your soul. He's a means to your real lover. So you seek him because you want a promotion. That's what it is to love the world. You meet Jesus and then. He's not it. He's a journey. You're just passing through. He's a drive-by. What you want is a takeout. So it means to love the world. But that's all you've ever known. That's why you went to school. You didn't like school, but you liked money. So you'll get some at the end. Right? You got up in the morning, not because you like waking up, but because there's another lover. So Jesus is the one who sanitizes your relationship. Because he got a car because he slept with the boss, and you got a car because you cheated on Jesus. Are we together? This is what it is to love. Now the problem is all you've ever known in your life is the world. So what happened is this is the boundary. So this is the kingdom, this is the world. Okay? So they came to you and they told you this. Come to Jesus, get baptized, do the rituals, then you will succeed in the world. See, that's what they told you. Because even when you think about purpose, you think about it this way, that if I'm going to be a painter, I'm going to be the Picasso. That's what you think about purpose. So the people who fulfilled purpose are like Barack Obama because everybody knows him. So even your pursuit of purpose is driven by fame. Not that people will know God, they'll know you. Do you see? Sensual desires. Now, this is what is called the love of the world. And it's all you've ever known. When you were in the world of sin and when you were in the world of the knowledge of good and evil, you've lived the same way. Even in Christian things, don't you go measuring what is your level in God. I don't know how you measure. What's your... it must be me. Okay, he's laughing at me. Unajua, I was told Nico down, I was told this shows my level, Nico down, right? That is a worldly measure. Because in the world, from the time you were in class 1, you were told there is number 1 and number. You know, last is a number in Kenya. Or number last. Right? So all through your life, you knew there is positions. Sindio? So you took all that mentality and came to the kingdom. So this is what happened when you got saved. You figured, and you are told this is about forgiving sins. You're not told about leaving the world. You're not told about friendship with the world. Then you went back to the... And then now you are trying to compete with the snakes. Yeah? You're trying to compete with the snakes when you're an eagle. Why do you think Jesus said, the children of this world are in their age wiser than the children of light? You see, if you're going to succeed in the world, you better be good at the world. But you are not of the world. So the problem and why Christians struggle is you're trying to apply Christian principles to a worldly life and worldly goals. How does that work? Oh, sorry. Commercial break. We need to get advertisers, people to advertise in the middle of this. Oh yes. Nyama, nyama, nyama. Nyama, nyama, nyama. Nyama ya mbuzi. Nyama ya Yesu. Hey, masterclass. Wait. Now, your frame has been the world, right? So you are trying to apply kingdom, which you know very little of, into the world. And you realize every time you try to do a deal, a relationship, a whatever, soon enough, you hit a barrier that gives you a crisis of faith. Have you noticed that? Because you are still in the world. It's a problem. You've not left. Okay? Now, it continues to say, Right? All right. Do you not know that being the world's friend is being God's enemy? So what is being the world's friend? Desiring the same thing the world desires. Okay, same thing. So whoever chooses to be a friend of the world takes his stand as an enemy of God. Now, let me explain. Okay? Judas did not start out to betray Jesus. Do you know that? Judas was just focused on making it. Just very basic. Okay? See, Judas, by the time he's stealing from the purse, he must have believed Jesus is a rich guy, correct? Because he won't notice. You see, you only have the guts to repeatedly steal when you know ayumse akona nyingi, so, right? He betrays Jesus for money, correct? So he was not setting out to be a bad guy. He was just looking out for himself. He was looking out for number one. But he eventually became a murderer, correct? Let me put it to you in perspective. I want you to imagine the most important thing in your life. That it's your husband or wife, your job, your money, your bank account, your car, whatever. Everyone has that thing, even your degree, right? Whatever it is that you value most, your business. Okay? I want you to think what you would do to the person who tried to take it away from you. See how quickly you become a murderer? Does it take you 2 seconds? No. Do you understand what it means? You see, the difference between you and Judas is opportunity. That's it. Let me put it to you in perspective. If a powerless person, one you can twanga, came today and forged your papers to steal your land, your everything, right? What's the first thought in your head? I'm gonna kill this, right? But don't you see that's friendship with the world? Haven't you just shown who you truly love? Because if your first love was God, your only check would be, has he stolen my God? Listen, you're only angry at people to the extent of how much you are God they've stolen. Can I prove it to you? If I steal your 10 bob, are you calling me tomorrow? 100 bob? 1,000? 10K? 100 G's? You see, your sense of loss is determined by who is your God. Because whatever you worship, when you lose it, you die with it. Tuko sawa? Guys, are we on the same boat? You love God? I don't want to go beyond there because I want to go to the story of Cain. I want you to consider this as a basis of what I want to teach in the next 1 hour. I've just done an introduction. Because what we are going to do in this series, we're going to keep checking if you're born again. You keep checking. And one of the things to check if you're born again is, who do you love? Okay, let me give you an example. Okay? If you're praying for your child to be healed, and you hear God's voice saying, "It is well," and you go to the doctor and he tells you your son or your daughter is dead, is it still well? In other words, I'm asking, whose word counts more to you? And I'm not talking about the child resurrecting. Do not think it's some fancy story. They're dead and they remain dead. Is it still well? That tells you who you love. When things are going upside down, God tells you, I am here. Is it enough for you? Is it enough for you? When you come to class, you got 1,000,001 problems. And God gives you revelation. Do you consider you've received daily bread? When your heart is troubled in the storms of life, who do you thirst for? Is it Johnny Walker? Is it Dunda? Is it a holiday? You know, I hear Christians and I'm like, you guys are playing. That your consolation comes from anything other than God, you're in trouble. Is Christ enough for you? Is He enough for you? If you woke up tomorrow and you got fired and you got auctioned, would you just check one account, the account of God, and see if He's still there and say, it is well? Not in a Christianese way, in a genuine way. Is Christ enough? It's a question. Jesus, love of my soul, Jesus, I will never let you go. Taken me from the miry clay, set my feet upon the rock, and now I know I love you. I need you. Though my world may fall. Hey, my friend, not your world. Your car has a puncture. Now, my purpose over the next series is to show you the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is also known as Babylon, which is also known as the world. Okay? And I'll show it to you from Genesis to Revelation. Okay? Because by the time we are done with that journey, you will be able to recognize and differentiate between the two trees together. Right? Now, Cain has an interesting story. Cain is the firstborn. Okay? Technically speaking, Cain is the one to inherit from Adam. Okay? Technically speaking, the bloodline of Jesus is to come through Cain. By right and by law, Cain is the rightful heir. Are we together? Because he's the firstborn. Now, this firstborn, I don't want to go through what I explained last week, does something interesting. He sacrifices some fruit. Okay? Now, I explained to you what some fruit is. Some fruit is the ritualistic meeting of the requirements of God. And you do it all the time. Okay? This is how you do it. It's end month. Kuna kale ka place nendanga kanaitwa master class. Wacha tu tatumaka kakitu. So that's what you mostly do. Okay, let me make it better. When a beggar comes near your car or the matatu, what do you usually look for? The biggest note or the smallest one? So you do what Cain did. In the passing of time, you gave some. You know, when you're giving out clothes, you don't give your new ones. You know, isn't how to? Oh, yeah, that's Cain tendencies, right? When it's time to give to God, you give to forestall bankruptcy. Yeah? You understand? You're trying to bribe God to make sure hii mwezi ikuwe sawa, sinisha kulipa tuko. Then what happens is, you see, when it says God did not accept his sacrifice, let me explain it to you. What that means is, in the passing of time, what you expected God to do for you based on your length of prayers, on your sacrifices and things like that, he did not do. That's where the issue is. And now, there is a brother, a Johnny come lately, you were born before him, right? Then he shows up and then God shows him favor. Okay? Because that story of the world is the same story of Cain and Abel. See the story we just read in James? It's the same story. That Cain has done something for God, like Mugzo, right? He's sacrificed, he's done all of those things, but God didn't give it to him, right? And so he became a sinner. That's when Cain started to drink, because he thought somehow alcohol affects God. I don't know why we think like that. So you choose to act out, correct? And that's what God was telling Cain, that sin is crouching at your. Now remember, the sin was not caused, the root of it, taming the sin was not sitting down and telling yourself, do not murder your brother. Taming the sin was doing well. If you do well, will you not be accepted? In other words, if you changed your heart and gave from your heart and gave your best, not the rest, because most of the time you give the rest, right? And you gave your best to God with the right heart, would you not be? So Cain is an elder brother. It reminds you of the prodigal son. Yeah. What was the issue with the prodigal son and his elder brother? What was the issue? That this prodigal son had done nothing. But the elder brother had done everything. But the party was being thrown for, and the elder brother was angry against, and the younger brother. Does that make sense? So same story here. Okay? Right? Now, Cain, whenever you act like Cain and you meet Abel, you'll kill him. Can I prove it to you? Every time someone comes to you, they're your boss, they're your preacher, anyone who has authority over you, and you figure out this, you are smarter than them, what do you usually do? When you discover they have certain flaws, what do you usually do? Right? Don't you kill Abel all the time? Guys, najiongelesha. So you kill Abel all the time. Do not, people think Cain is such a bad guy. when we are all murderers, right? So he kills his brother. Okay? And the killing of the brother happens a lot. Let me explain to you. You remember who's ever been in CU? Christian Union? Right? Kwanza kuna chair ladies and chair men over here. Now this is what used to happen. Okay? A brother would be caught in sin. Right? Most likely, instead of coming for weekend challenge, walienda kutembea kwa field na wasichana. Right? And then you have an entire meeting and to discuss this person. And you either censure him or excommunicate him, right? Depending on what happened in the field. Now, have you ever wondered why you do that? Because it's none of your business, really. No, I don't know why Christians think that God is incapable of punishing people. I don't know. Did you ever hear him tell Moses, Moses, go pick 20 sticks and beat all these people? You notice God is fully capable of dealing, right? It's only the church today that is very concerned with stoning people. Okay? Now, the reason you get like that is because of jealousy. You get like that because you're always asking the question of how is it possible that this person is having the fun I want to have na nimejikazia? That's really the question. That's why you keep saying people drink water, didn't you preach water and drink wine? It's because you also want to drink wine. So how dare they? So we are killing brothers all the time. We hate it when people are free. We hate it. It's just irritating. Especially when they don't pray as hard as you, then they get a car. Don't pray as hard as you, then they get married. Don't pray. So you kill Abel. You find ways, right? In fact, killing Abel is what has brought a lot of demonology. Because in church, you cannot prosper unless you're working with the devil. Can't. So, then he kills his brother, right? Now, I want to go to verse 9. And the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? I'm sorry, Ken Mugane. Yeah? Where is Abel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Now, there are many sermons that have been taught about brothers' keeper. I will not go there because I'll start debunking too many things and preachers will say I don't like them. So let's assume that part for now, okay? And the Lord said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. Okay? And now you are cast by reason of which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's shed blood from your. Okay? When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, in perpetual exile, a degraded outcast. Now, a number of things. And now you are cast. By reason of what? So who cast Cain? You know, if you read the Bible carefully, you'll realize God rarely curses people. Now, God, listen, let me explain this. Blessings and curses are not things God dishes out. They are functions of the behavior of the Son. Blessings and curses are not things God dishes out. They are functions of the decisions and behaviors of the Son. Let me explain what I mean. Moses put it like this: I've set before you life and death, blessing and curses. Choose, right? So who chooses? So no one can curse you because it's your choice. See, it says, I've set before you blessings and curses. You choose. Who chooses? God. Correct? So what God is saying, the choice that you've made, the earth has cast you. Okay? Because it's opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood. Yeah, pause. You're wondering, so how does this apply to me? Every time you've thrown a brother under the bus, every time you've put a brother in trouble, every time you didn't save a brother, every time you didn't love a brother, every single, the earth became cursed. You. Huh. Can I prove it to you? Where are we? Okay. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. And let me give you a Kenyan term. You'll be a hustler. What does that mean? That the amount of work you put in will never be equal to your result. Sound familiar? The position of your life becomes hard labor, little fruit. That is the working condition of the world. True or false? You shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. Okay? In other words, you will be continually running away from problems. Let me explain. You get a new job, new salary, new everything, right? But your problems are the same. You're constantly running in fear. Okay, let me make it better. You're constantly scared of going broke. Oh, see, that's what you run away from every day. So that's what you run from. You wake up, first thing in the morning, brokenness is over here about to bite. That's the world, isn't it? There's something snapping at your neck about to bite you. Poverty is coming. Problems are coming. You're always running. Are we okay? Now, in a degraded outcast, what is a degraded outcast? You know you can be more. Even in school, they told you are smart. People listen to you and they say, hey, nasungekuwa unaambia president hizi vitu. And you can't even access the chief. That, for a lot of us, you're living your life and you know where God called me to be is not where I'm living. Correct? Degraded outcast. Then Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I. Behold, you've driven me out this day from the face of the land, and from your face I will be hidden. What is God talking about? What is Cain saying? That the exile really is the land where I could see your face. That's really where you've sent me away from. From that day, Cain's problem is he could no longer access God. When he was told that he will no longer be able to produce, he'll be a hustler, forever worried about rent, forever worried about money, forever worried about safety, forever worried, he understood it to mean what? I can no longer access. Now are you seeing the world there? Are you seeing the difference? You see, right there is the definition of the world versus God. Okay. I want to ask you a question. How many times in the Bible was Jesus reclining at the table? Jesus was such an expert recliner, he was called a glutton and a drunk. Now, I want you to think about it. If God sends you an email today and tells you, I have sent you to save the people of Syokimau, peke yake, and you got 3 years, how many times will we find you chilling? If you are serious at your job, seriously serious, you need to be doing stuff, right? As in, Jesus should have been doing world-saving things. Correct? But he's constantly reclining. Now, there's something very strange in the Bible. Moses rescued the children of Israel. Okay, what was he doing? Have you ever noticed what Moses was doing? Mostly lifting sticks. Yeah, a stick, nini parts, stick, snake appears, right? That's most of his career. Akifanya kazi sana, cut some branches, throw them in water, sticks, but now, I know you might think I'm advocating for laziness. I'm not. But I'll tell you that's how life works. I'll give you an example. What does the queen do? Okay. Between the guy who cleans Safaricom, the guy who's there at 5 in the morning cleaning, working hard the whole day, and the CEO who has entertainment allowance. Because, listen, the son of a rich man works from rest because the rich man did all the work, right? The son of a God who did all the work was born, and his first experience on the 7th day was rest. True or false? Hebrews says he came that you may enter. Jesus said, come to me all you who labor and are heavy, and I will give you. Listen, I used to work every single day of the week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. That was forever broke. And one day, God told me, are you willing to die? Took me a couple of months. that I finally died. Now, let me tell you what happened. I quit running my business. I quit my 9 to 9 job, which I used to be very proud of. You know, when people used to ask me, how you making it in life? And I was interviewed for Life Year Hustler. I was very proud to say how hardworking I was, how many clients I had. So I gave it all up. Gave it all up. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But soon after I did, I discovered one thing. People could pay me my entire salary that I used to earn 9 to 9, or all those days of the week. They could give it to me in 2 days. Like, yeah. What changed here? Started discovering that, wait, people are willing to pay me per hour what I would make in a week. Like, this working from rest thing is nice. I used to strive to make millions. Work so hard. Comes a time I write one proposal, I'm given that million I used to work for all the time. Now you see, the problem is we don't realize that the transition from works, from hard labor to rest depends on how you treat your brother. Don't realize that. You don't understand that if you defraud your brother, you immediately default to world. And world is hard labor. In James, didn't you read that you have jealousy against who? Your brother. Strife against who? Your brother. Quarrels against who? Your brother. And that's called loving the world. So you can't come into rest. So he understands that I have lost access to my God, not because I can't pray. Please understand, while he is saying this, who is talking to him? So he understands that it's not about the ability to access him. He says, I've lost you because I lost my brother. That's the other attribute of the world. The world tells you, ignore your brother. Look out for you. This is why all your complaints is, how can you do that too? Okay? So he says that God, his face is gone from him because of his brother. And I will be a fugitive, a vagabond, and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. They've had 2 sons and some daughters, right? So who is he talking about will kill him? This is the other thing about being in the world. You're always running for your life. The wicked run when no one giveth. So let me explain what that means. When you are in the world, there is always something about to kill you. Cancer. Cancer is killing people. Unajua umepita HIV? Mimi anko yangu acha nikwambie we. Everything scares you. Al-Shabaab, pickpockets. Do you know why? Because God is not your guard and your shield. He's not. You know, if you live with me long enough, you will discover very weird things. There's Not once, not twice. I've gone to bed with my car door completely open. Not open ati asija open, nimefungua hivi, nikatoka nikaenda nikalala. Nikaamka asubuhi ma mosquitoes zimejaa kwa. No. Even when I used to live in Utawala and I was driving a BMW, I'd wake up many times. Let me continue. So another attribute of still being in the world is what? Whoever finds me will. So you're afraid of everything. Diseases, thieves, money, everything causes you fear. You're afraid of your boss, they can fire you. You're afraid of your colleague, they can talk to your boss, they fire you. Afraid of your pastor, he'll find out your secrets and fire you from church. Anyone who finds you will. And the Lord said to him, therefore, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark or sign upon Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. So Cain went away from the presence of the Lord. He went from where? He went from where? Now, a lot of the time when you practice the art of killing your brother, which is also called loving the world, okay? A lot of the time you will go from the presence of the Lord. Can I tell you how? You get a job. Then what happens? You work so hard on that job, ikifika time for God, you're like, nifanye hii job. You get? That's one way. The other way is you get so much pleasure, God is not important. Same result. But something interesting happens. And Cain's wife became pregnant and bore Enoch. And Cain did what? I want you to pause. He's been chased away from where? What does he build? Now, according to the God you've been taught, should he be able to build a city? I want you to think. What is the Bible telling you there? You've been chased away from the presence of God. You would expect. And Cain died of hunger. I want you to ask a question. Cain built a city without who? And your testimonies are, Bwana asifiwe, nimenunua gari. Because in your mind you assume that having God equals material prosperity. Wrong God. Because clearly, one man can build a city without God. So what's the Bible? Why is the Bible telling this story? But let me go down. Right? To Enoch was born Irad, the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah the father of Lamech. Lamech had 2 wives, so they invented polygamy. All right? And the number one was Ada, and the other was Zillah. And Ada bought Jabal, and he was the father of those who dwell in tents and have cattle and purchase possessions. Now, let me ask you, this is a lineage without God, right? They're building cities. They have tents, they have cattle, and they have money to buy things. I'm not liking this Bible. Because this guy killed Are you seeing any punishment here? And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre. And so who discovers music? Cain's people, right? Now, you see, you are landing in very weird territory. You thought genealogies are boring, eh? Now they're interesting. Zillah bore Tubal Cain. He was the forger of all casting instruments of bronze and iron. He had a sister called Nama. Lamech said to his two wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, listen to what I say. If I have slain a man merely for wounding me, and a young man only for striking and bruising me, if a Cain is avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech will be avenged 77-fold. Now, I want you to pause and think about what he is saying. He's just given you the principles of the most mighty people on earth, correct? Niguze uone. Right? Cop stop you. Unajua mimi ni nani? Right? Someone steps on you. How can you? Right? See, that's how you are. Isn't that why you get offended? Isn't that side of you that wants to show people, mtaisha kukosea. Alafu kukuuliza, how can you work with that person? They caused you to be fired. Isn't that same speech? That the people who injure you must be murdered in some way? Isn't that your prayer life? That God may kill all your enemies? Isn't this what you believe in more than turn the other cheek? Isn't this what you believe in more than turn the other cheek? So he's defining the world. Now, I want you to pause and consider all those scriptures. They built cities, they traded with money, they created music, right? Can I tell you something? All of those things are the things that replace God in your life. Let's go back. What is a city? A city is a place that keeps you safe. Because cities then were fortresses. So the first thing that you do is you move the source of your security from God to things that you've built yourself. In the modern world, most of it is money. And the second one is keeping people away. I don't let people too close. Guarding your heart. Right? So you keep your secret safe. Right? You keep your reputation safe. What was I? So what are you constantly building in your life? Walls. It's the same reason what you use money for. As the end month comes, you look at your bank account, you're like, kuna rent ya miezi mbili. Rest my soul, it is. You built a city. That's how you replace God, number one. What is the source of your safety? What keeps you safe? What makes you feel safe? Let's go on. No, back, I've started city, right? Right? So it builds a city. What else is in a city? Commerce, right? So let's go down. Where is the father? 2 wives, all right? Now, what happens? You start building your own dwelling. What becomes your next focus? Where can I safely store my stuff? Right? Cattle. How can I start producing for myself? And then purchase possessions. Now, key thing. Notice, he wants to have stuff. Okay? Now, because you're still in the world, you're like, what's wrong with having stuff? In the kingdom, it's the opposite. We use stuff. We don't have stuff. What do I mean by use? In the kingdom, you're supposed to sell everything and give it to the poor. Correct? Use unrighteous mammon to win friends. So the resources we have in the kingdom are for others. In the world, the things you have are for storing and keeping so that you feel safer every day. Or feel richer every day. So you buy things for you. You buy things to make you feel okay. And you build a tent for who? For yourself. You don't build a tent for God. The kingdom is concerned about making places where God can dwell. Correct? The world is concerned about making places where you can dwell. See, you look for a job for you, right? So that you can feed you, right? And so that you can be promoted. So that you have a speech to tell your friends. That's called building your tent. In the kingdom, we build this tent so that people can find a place where God dwells. In other words, let me make it simple so you don't build altars. You build a place where love is common. You build a place where people can find help, where people can find food, where people can find wisdom, where people can find a hug, where people can find acceptance. That's what you build. You understand? But most of the time, what do you build? I need a house where my 55-inch can fit, right? So listen, just think about it. Think about it. When you're getting a bigger sitting room, you're not thinking so that I can have many friends over. You're thinking so that your staff can fit. See the difference between the world? You move house so that when people come, they will not say, na huyu anaishingi wapi. Guys, tuko sawa? Mmeninyamazia kwa sababu mmejam ama I'm boring. So all you're concerned is stuff to fill your house. You're not interested in filling the house of God. It's not your interest. It's not your interest. So the resources you have are inward looking, not outward. Now, the liar and you are interested in entertaining. Hey, you are interested in entertaining. Think about it this way. Let's do a quick math. Let's count your useless expenditure. when you eat out, drink out. So can I finish what I'm saying? You can be co-preacher after I finish. The amount of money you spend treating yourself, going out, eating out, entertaining yourself, right? Put all that, just calculate the amount, okay? Then on this other side, balance the sheet with the amount of money and resources you spend loving your brother. In fact, let's practically say supporting masterclass, loving your brother, giving to the needy. Which one is bigger? Okay, let me put it to you this way. How much of your resources are you willing to spend on a night out? And how much are you willing to spend on 2 hours with God? 2 hours with your friend? Just count. Bwana asifiwe mandugu na madada. Between Java and Masterclass, which one should write you a thank you note for being a loyal customer? Listen. Part of the greatest manifestation of worshipping self is the need to entertain that God. Did you hear what I just said? Part of the manifestation of worshipping self is the need to entertain that God called you. It just defines for you how hard it is for God to make you uncomfortable. That's what I mean. If God asked you for everything, the pain you have tells you how important you are to you. See, I used to find something interesting when I used to drink. I'd meet these big shots, and I'm in big trouble. I'm like, yo, we need to talk, man. Like, hey, you guy, you're my guy, tukutane bar fulani, right? We'll pay the bill for drinks. Have you ever found this? Pay for your drinks, pay for your food, and tell him, say, siwezi kukusort. Have you ever? Has that ever made sense to you? Do you know why? Which God are you worshipping? Because the lineage of Cain cannot allow you to watch out for your brother. Can't. It is less painful to entertain. Less painful. Oh, this is also why you'll hate me. This is also why Christians are very good at meeting for eating and drinking. Very good. But to tell each other truth, because which is more valuable? Let me tell you. The Bible says that we should spur one another unto good works. Correct? Now, is that a command? It is. Now, meaning when you meet me, I should irritate you to do good, right? So when you meet me, listen, iron sharpens. How? Nicely. You see, the problem with Christians today, we are hap and liar Christians. It's all about entertainment and let's flow. That's the world. My joy should come from the success of my brother. That's where it should come. My joy should be that I saw Kip's business and I gave him advice, I gave him clients until he made it. That's joy. My joy should be that I met you and you're living in Korogosho. And I advised you and I hooked you up with my networks and I worked hard and now you're living in Buruburu. I don't understand how you keep friends who keep you where you are. Because that's another way of killing you. Stagnation kills you. So let me take you back to Amaya, my brother's keeper. What is a good keeper of sheep? That when you come back, the sheep which was a lamb is now a fattened ram, right? That's a good keeper, right? So a brother's keeper is not just one who keeps someone alive and calls to check on you. Hello? Imagine, I'm just checking on you. Hey, your life, where it is, your truth, your level of revelation, stay the same. Because it is a world where kila mtu ajipange. Pambana na hali. But isn't that what you practice? That all you want to do for your brother is play guitar while they suffer, while their business does not grow, while their marriage is not working. You're just there meeting them for drinks. It's been a while, you guys, my guys, tukutane, my guy. Do not call me. You know, Ken Mugane knows I woke up, I was so angry at another group I was forced to join. And then it's just for you guy, my guy, you guy, my guy. Every day, you guy, my. You guy, my guy, cancer does not have a cure. And you want me to do you guy, my guy for how long? Lie and pipe. And that's how the world is. You are told making it is living like Kim Kardashian. What is she always doing? Entertaining herself. The people with the biggest followers on Instagram are always on holiday. It's always about the lie and pipe. Everything is about that. Even your job, you go to work 7 months just so you can go on holiday. Why don't you just move to Mombasa and live on the damn beach so you don't have to work? Does it make sense? No, why would you work to go rest? Why don't you just work from rest? Are you mad? My goodness. Let me explain to you the world. The world always gives you this carrot while it's sticking you all the time. You're always looking for this pleasurable thing at the end. Even a week, you're always looking for the weekend. You're always looking for this time when you'll rest. Always. God has called you to the opposite. He's called you to weekend every day. That's what He's called you. Now, the forger of all cutting instruments, to cut who? One of the things that most Christians are good at is killing their enemies. You've got cutting tools. You know exactly which words to say and they'll pinch. You know those tools? You know how to say Christianese. I'm not coming to your party, but I'm there in spirit. Cutting tools. You know how to take a razor and cut a little bit and kill by 1,000 slashes. You know how. All that is the world. You're an expert at cutting your brother. Now, take me down. I've already explained Lamech's words, right? And you know his voice. You've said those words many times. Now, verse 25, I want to go there. And Adam's wife became pregnant. She bore a son called his name Seth. For God, she said, has appointed for me another child instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. And to Seth was born. Wait, okay, there's something I'm missing here. And to Seth was also a son was born, whom he named Enosh, and at that time began to call upon God by the name of the. Many people have made very many funny remarks here. There's no magical name here. You know, people have always looked for the name of God. They think if you call upon the name of God, which is why, you know, have you met these people who insist on calling Jesus Yeshua and God Yahweh? Nonsense. Because I always ask them just one question. So Luos will not make it, eh? Because they'll say Yahshua. Anyway, take me to chapter 5 quickly. I'm out of time. Chapter 5. All right. Now, this is the book of the written record, the history of the generations of the offspring of Adam. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created the male and female, blessed them, and named both Adam man and both Adam man at the time they were. That's a mystery. I do not have time to explain. All right. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness after his image, and he named him Seth. It does not say that of Cain and Abel. Okay? Because, again, that's a mystery. And you'll keep seeing throughout the Old Testament the replacement of the firstborn with another son. And that son being the recipient of the blessing. You'll see it throughout. Okay? Which is a picture, I'll give you a hint, of Adam being replaced by Jesus. Okay? But we'll talk about that further. Now, I want you to notice what has gone on here. That Adam's life, in as far as the Bible is concerned, is in the process of him doing what? Of him bearing a son in his own likeness after his image. That is the summation of the life of Adam after the fall. It's the only thing the Bible is interested in. Think about it. We know he had other sons and daughters, right? But why does it pick on Seth and then say he bore a son after his image? And now, after he had Seth, he lived 800 years and had other sons, and story ends, right? 930 years, Adam. Seth is 105 and he has Enosh. And Enosh, after 800 and dies. And Seth lived 912 and he died. And Enosh was 90 and he bore Kenan. And Enosh lived after about 815 years and had other. Enosh lived 905 years and he. When Kenan was 70 years old, Mahalalel was born. And Kenan lived 840 years, other sons and daughters. And Kenan 910 dies. Mahalalel 65 years, and Jared 830 years died. 895 years he died. I want to go. I just want you to notice that each of them has a son, lives many hundred years and dies. Take me, just Enoch is 21, so I'll get to Enoch. Now, my question is, I want you to compare lineages. Cain is building cities. Cain is playing music. Cain is getting possessions. All Seth is doing is having sons. Pause. Because you guys, I know where your heads went. Because Bonnie is Luya Jesus jumping. Like I'm supposed to have sons. Correct, but not in the way you think. Pause. Now, this generation of Enoch walks in habitual fellowship with God after the birth of Methuselah and had other sons. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked in habitual fellowship with God, and he was not, for God took him home with him. Pause. To show you something very important. Okay? When Seth had Enosh, he begins to call upon the name of. Through these generations, he's having sons after his likeness. In other words, what are they doing? Calling upon the name of the Lord. Okay? Right? Follow me carefully. So that means these generations were focused on one task. To create sons that were like God. Because Adam, the Bible is careful to say, was in the likeness of, and he bore Seth, who was in Adam's likeness. Meaning, Seth was in whose likeness? God's. And then Seth teaches Enosh to call upon the name of. So these generations are generations of people who know how to walk with. And therefore, in the seventh generation, a man is born called Enoch, who has perfected the walk. He escapes death. So he is speaking a mystery to the church today. Because when I go to Revelation, I find a woman in tribulation. And she bears a child, and that child, like Enoch, is caught up to heaven. Telling you, because that woman is the church, that the body of Christ is focused on one task. It's called childbearing. Paul puts it like this. He says the woman is saved by bearing. The woman is the church. It's you and I. So the purpose of godly generations, he said he made them one. Correct? In Malachi, as people misquote it. And he says, why did he make them one? Because he was desiring godly offspring. Correct? Now, Paul says, when I speak of marriage, I speak of a mystery, I speak of Christ, the church. So when Christ took hold of you, he wanted a baby. Otherwise, why would you call you a bride? Now, what is it you're supposed to produce? You are supposed to yourself be in the image and likeness of God and produce another who's in the image and likeness of God, and generationally speaking, then you will escape death, correct? That tells you that your salvation is not complete until you give birth to a son. Oh my goodness. I told you that before we were joking in class. Now let me teach you master class. Listen. What God desires from you is that you pour your life out into someone else so much they become like you. In other words, God expects you to love people so much you will not give up on them until Christ is birthed in them. Get me the scripture where Paul says, I labor that Christ might be birthed in you. So we relate in the kingdom as fathers and sons because in each of us we are striving to produce what? Christ. So we read this and we see people who are good at having babies. God reads this and sees a people who knew how to produce his likeness on earth. So when people met these people, what should happen? That there is a Jesus, there is a Jesus, there is a Jesus. And what does Jesus do when he comes? He comes and he finds 12 who, when they're just sitting by a fire and they talk, they say, you've been with him. Now check your friends. Check your brothers. What have you produced in them? This is the difference between the world and the kingdom. Because in the world, you produce stuff. You produce money, you produce companies, you produce cities. In the kingdom, we produce sons. We produce people who have the image and likeness of God. My little children, for whom I am again suffering with birth pangs. Until Christ is completely and permanently unformed and molded within you. Oh, would I that I were with you now and coax you vocally, for I am fearful and perplexed about you. In other words, what was Paul's thing? That I interact with you on the basis that I want to see the image of Christ in you. Now, I want you to look at your life. Very basic audit. You will realize most of your life is lined up on the lineage of Cain. True or false? Now I want to ask you one question. Which son are you birthing? Who are you travailing so hard for that Christ might be born in them? That it causes you pain that they will grow. That you are uncomfortable, pressed so that they will grow. That you will leave your glory, your money, your riches, your everything so that this son can grow. You see, Christians have temporal generosity, and you think you're doing the will of God. So you meet someone, give them a loan of 2 bob, go like, I have done a good deed. No. This one speaks of this kind of person. God says, Jesus said, go into all the nations doing what? Making disciples. Please understand, it is not finding, it is making. You have to make someone. You have to make. So what happens is this. In the kingdom, Kamsa, this is how it is. And let me conclude this way. 2 things that are happening in your life. There is the world with its stuff. Show them the stuff. And it's Samsung. It's not some funny brands. Then on this side, there is brothers. Okay? There's humanity. Now, Christ is taken to the mountain and he's shown stuff. And he's told, all this stuff I can give you. He turned around and he said, there's a possession I must buy for my God, his brothers. That temptation was about turning away from stuff for the sake of a brother. Okay. And when he took this brother, he did not take the brother and say, oh, umeanguka, cleaned you up, cheerio. No. He said we must be like the Good Samaritan. Found you broken and wounded. Did the first aid. Then took you under my arm and took you to an inn. And then paid the bills of the inn until you could walk, talk, and act like me. That's true love. The kingdom is built on that. It's built on consistently finding people like this that you can walk with, cry for, pray for, pay for. So this is your relationship with the world. That I go to the world to rob it so that you don't have a phone here. Your phone needs a power bank here. You need a tablet here. That's my relationship with the world. That this stuff is supposed to be used to win a brother. So I'm not concerned here. Because for as long as I take care of my brother, this world must fund me. It must. So what do I seek every day? I seek out my brother. Because Christ said, as God sent me, as my Father sent me, so do I send you. So, and he said, I came to seek and save the. So what is your purpose every day? To seek and save the. And you don't save the lost by doing donations on M-Pesa. Send. No. You save a brother by investing time, investing wisdom, investing love, investing patience, investing pushing them towards the right direction, investing all of those things until they're like you in God. So I have serious problems with people who you meet your brother lives in Korogosho. 2 years later, lives in Korogosho. And you are fine in your 5-bedroom mansion somewhere. Something seriously wrong with you. How is that a brother? That you could not improve their lives all this time. But you bought them drinks. Because let's look at it this way. In the world, what happens? You go to the bar, right? And you don't know what's hurting this guy, right? And you're just like, dance, man. Right? To go, right? Yeah, right? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for 1 second how this brother is doing, does it? Because in the world, everyone is okay. But in the kingdom, your dance is real. Like, listen, what do you need? How can I be there for you? And then you labor. You labor until the Christ you have is manifest in them. Now, that is called purpose. Now, let me answer one question that's on your mind. But I've got so many problems. Let me tell you something strange. Is it 1st or 2nd Corinthians chapter 1 verse 4? It says this, that we comfort you with the comfort we have received. So even your pain was for someone else. You see, the kingdom is wired that everyone is for someone else. Then someone else is for you. Do you understand? So even your pain, the heartache you're going through, the comfort God is giving you is what you give. That's why Paul says, I'm being poured out like a drink offering. So, to be born again, to be a brother's keeper is to do what? Greater love knows no man than this, than one to lay down for another. In other words, that what God gave you, you strive so hard to give it away that He too can have it. He can have it. Everything you got from God, He can have it. So it's money, it's revelation, it is networks, it is whatever. You are striving every day to give it out. That's what you live for. That every person you meet, you want to transform. That's the kingdom. When you do this other thing, you are Cain. You'll forever hustle. So it's your choice. Can I give you the kingdom business plan? It's very simple. Jesus told you this. In the world, people wake up every day and they sweat for things. So he washes clothes, things, right? I tell him he's got nice hair, things, right? That's how you know how to live. Then Jesus tells you, leave this stuff. Stop worrying where you shall eat what, right? And seek ye first the kingdom is a brother in need. Okay? With what God has given you, whether it's knowledge, it's talent, it's skill, whatever it is, give it to a brother so that Christ might be formed in them. Notice, so that Christ might be formed. Not that we see how generous you are. No. Or so that God can bless you. No. Or so that Christ can be formed in them. Which means you cannot do it without truth. The biggest problem we have is we have love without truth nowadays. So I love you and I leave you the way you are. No, not me. Stop being my friend. I will, if what you are doing is not in the Bible, I will call you out. So you know that. So that Christ is formed, and I use my time, my resources, my everything. So that Christ is. Now, when I am doing that, what is the earth commanded to do? To supply, to add. Because I have found my brother. So he must add. They don't have a choice. They don't. But until you find this kingdom, there is no addition. It is for hustle. You write the best business plans. It's for hustle. But if you find your brother, make it your business to keep this brother. This world must supply. Are we together? So make your choice. There's harps and lyres out there. There's cattle and sheep and tents out there. There's safe cities, your insurance policy, your job, your bank account savings, all of which, by the way, one diagnosis of cancer gone. Yeah. Let me tell you, I went to an estate where people live in mabati houses, but they have a metal door. For what? But that's exactly what you do. It's exactly what you do. You've built your safety. You live in a Mabati house, but you put such nice triple lock doors. So, choice is simple. Because after Cain, I'll show you Noah. God will not come check how many cities you built. God will come check how much of Him He gave you that you gave to other people, and they became like you and therefore became like Christ. Simple. These are the measurements. You know, preachers are funny. Oh, I preach to 2,000 people, none of whom even know what you are like. But you speak to them. And you think Christ will come and say, congratulations, you had a bigger church than mine? No. Christ will come and count sons. How many people did you pour your life into and they became like? That's my sermon, guys. That's it. Thanks, guys.